All right, hello everyone, and welcome back to Daily Update, my 1000 Days Challenge. This is day 260. So let's get things started. All right, so first and foremost, you'll notice the balance that what I mentioned is actually up, and reason is both based on my experimental and also my main trading account setup. So like what I mentioned, I've been taking a couple of trading stop loss hit in terms of Bitcoin for the main trading setup. Whereas in terms of experimental setup, there was actually a Bitcoin that was taken, I think an Ethereum that I took profit. And then there was also a Bitcoin that I took in terms of stop loss wise. So yep, it is what it is. And in terms of the market structure update on the weekly chart, there's actually no change across the board, be it from the US stock market or even from the China or potentially even from Bitcoin itself. But do bear in mind that if you're looking in terms of S&P 500, we do see that on the weekly chart, we are getting a little bit overextended because for the past consecutive 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks, we've been going on a very strong bullish trend. And not only are we making higher highs, but we are not actually even overlapping entirely and even with a small gap up in that perspective. It's not like whereby they share similar parts. So you can see that if we do have some sort of consecutive, tentatively the potential or the probability of a pullback does increases over time. So yeah, so this is definitely one of the more bullish sides. So even if you see over here, the bars are a little bit more thinner in terms of the body, whereas comparatively to here, it's a little bit more towards the parabolic side of things, which is something that I'm not very comfortable with in terms of sustainability wise, because when it comes to trader wise, they'll definitely be more likely to be taking profits. All right. Otherwise, if you look in terms of S&P, Nasdaq, similarly, same thing, we actually broke the new high. So if we do actually have a retest of it over here on the resistance and support over the next week, then tentatively it'll be good. And I'll prefer that you can actually consolidate right above it just as well. And for ASHR and KWEB, ASHR wise on the weekly chart still looks to be okay. But on the daily chart, I can see that we're actually trending very close towards the key support region. So hopefully we do get a bounce and a very strong bounce to show conviction in terms of buying pressure and momentum. Otherwise, we could see further downside as well. And that's what I'm leaning towards. But of course, if you're looking in terms of entering position, why to me here is also fine. If you have a more position and you're more in terms of the cash wise, you could also reserve a little bit in case if prices do drop below, you still have some cash to get in just as well. At least that would be my approach in terms of doing so. And KWEB Wells tentatively looks a little bit more bearish in the sense that, like I mentioned, it remains below the 200 simple moving average on the daily chart, and it's also near the swing low of this. So you can see that over here. So there was only a week over here. So if we do not see a strong bounce over here, tentatively, we are having a much higher probability of having a much stronger low, especially as the 20 exponential average starts to catch up in the next couple of days ahead. And finally, for Bitcoin itself. So for Bitcoin itself, I've identified a new potential setup. On the weekly chart, we still do see that there could be some sort of potential rejection because we are getting a little bit parabolic, but I wouldn't say it's parabolic just yet because we still have a decent gap between the 20 exponential moving average and the price itself. But if you look in terms of daily chart, like I mentioned, this is a very nice pattern itself. So consolidating here and retesting here is actually a very healthy thing to do, especially if you look in terms of the bigger scale of things on the weekly chart itself. And on the 4-hourly chart is where I see a potential setup coming in. So I've drawn this downslope trend line, but more importantly, I also want it to break above this 20 exponential moving average before entering any long. And reason is very simple. You can see that we actually supported here once, twice, and only when we reach below did we have a very decisive break downwards. And now we have a very decisive in terms of support on the 50 simple moving average on the 4-hourly chart itself. So this seems to be a key support area that has actually been established right over here just as well. And yeah, so tentatively, let's see how things goes. And tentatively, you can also see that we've been supported at the 20 exponential moving average on the 4-hour chart. So I will see that if we do break above this in the next 1.5 hours decisively and close above it, I'll enter potential long setup with stop loss right below this 50 simple moving average and 1:1.5 risk to reward setup. But of course, along the way, if I do see clean rejection, especially at the previous and the all-time high per se, let's just switch to the daily chart. Did we still get it? No, yeah. So basically, this is the intraday high region. Then, yeah, potentially could choose to be taking at least some sort of profit, especially if we see some sort of rejection. I will reduce my position sizing when it comes to price action trading just as well. Otherwise, that's more or less about it. You can pause over here and take a quick read. Basically, this is the setup that I'm going for potential long setup. Otherwise, that's it. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.